Hi guys, welcome back to yet another fun DIY sailboat refitting video here about good old Athena. In this weekend's video, I don't really know what is going to happen. I know the very first thing I want to do is to cut the first piece of the new cabin sole. After that, I suspect it's back to the grueling task of laying up glass. In last weekend's video, I installed the first of Athena's new bulkheads. Since last weekend, I've gone ahead and tabbed the aft-facing side of that bulkhead. So this is now fully installed. There's another piece of plywood that's going to connect to here, go into a nice soft rounded corner and then connect up to the plywood that's going to be over here. But all of that is going to be sitting on top of the new cabin sole, so that is going to have to wait a few months. The next logical step is for me to get all of this stuff moved out of the way so I can get to the structural members that's hiding underneath the cabin sole here and reinforce those just like I did over here on the starboard side. New and spiffy. Meanwhile, over here, not so spiffy. In case you're new to my channel, I will link in a video that describes why I'm doing this. Now, for me to be able to move all of the stuff from the port side, I figured the best way of doing that would simply just be to cut the first piece of the new cabin sole, the piece that's gonna go right here. I haven't checked, but I'll pretty much guarantee you that that bulkhead and the main bulkhead are in no way parallel, so it's time to make a template, and for that, I've brought along some cardboard. I'm not concerned about the curve of the hull yet because this cardboard is a little bit lively to work with. So if I can simply just get a piece of plywood cut so that it fits in here neatly, then I can deal with the curve of the hull. When I brought the plywood for the new bulkhead down here, I also brought 2 extra pieces, and this should be perfect for the new cabin sole. So far, it's looking like a pretty good fit. I just have to take the tabbing here on the main bulkhead into account. After a few more adjustments, the new cabin sole is now lying nice and flat. Now I can start worrying about the curvature of the hull. As you can see back there, there's a gaping hole, and of course I don't want that. I want that edge to sit nice and flush up against the hull. Yeah, it's looking pretty promising so far. No, by the way, did I mention that it is 1 billion degrees today? I am frickin' melting. I'm using a mere mortal stir stick to put a rough outline of the curvature of the hull onto the plywood. Then when I get a little bit closer with the plywood to the hull, I should easily be able to scribe the curvature of the hull onto the plywood. I've gotten it fairly close up against the hull, so let's go ahead and see if we can scribe the curvature of the hull onto the plywood. But the surface here is very rough. There's some of the old tabbing left from the old cabin sole, and there's also my repairs to the structural members, so it's all very wavy and bumpy, so it's not gonna be pretty. I'm attempting to smooth out some of the unevenness. This is a way nicer curve than the hull, but there is going to be a little bit of a gap in between the cabin sole and the hull. Over here on the starboard side, you can see how the old cabin sole was installed, and the tabbing is dipping down a little bit from the plywood and onto the hull, so there is a little bit of a gap there. Ta-da! I present you the first piece of the new cabin sole. I wish I could get started building the settee that's gonna go here. That would be a lot more fun than getting back to laying up glass, but I have to keep my priorities straight. I'm not gonna glass this in place yet because I want to seal up the bottom of the plywood, and I also still have to cut limber holes down here. But yeah, for now I can go ahead and get all of this stuff moved over here. I'm not terribly excited about the next step in the process here, but I gotta get it done. And that step is to tear out all of this, take care of the prep work so I can get to lay up some glass. I've already taken care of a good chunk of the prep work, but there's still plenty to contend with. Hi guys, it is Friday. It is official. The weekend is finally here. Now 2 days ago I had my last wisdom tooth pulled, so I am officially no longer wise. It still hurts a little bit, so there's not gonna be a lot of yammering on, at least not today, but I finally feel like I'm ready to get back to work here aboard Athena. As is customary, I took my tooth and I left it under my pillow, for the tooth fairy of course. Now not only did she not take the tooth, she also didn't give me any sweet cash, but she did give me this. Wow! 50 new discs for my angle grinder. What more could anybody ever want? And also, there goes my last excuse for not getting on with the prep work, so yep, I better get to it. As you can see, I've already taken care of a good chunk of the prep work here. I still need to sand that area, remove all of that and sand underneath that, and sand underneath that area. Because it hurts when I talk, I am just gonna cue up a time lapse and get on with this. That was it for the fun part of the prep work. The rest is going to require copious amounts of oh glorious sanding. Even with the dust shroud on my angle grinder here, there's still going to be plenty of fiberglass dust floating around. And of course that dust is exactly what makes sanding fiberglass so much fun, because it is super itchy. Over the years I've gotten a fair number of comments suggesting that I should apply some baby powder or talcum before sanding fiberglass. Apparently that should keep the itch down, and I've finally managed to get my hands on some baby powder. Now, I'm sure I could go a little bit lighter on the baby powder, but well, let's just give it a go. This is not all the way done yet. There's still a little bit of detail sanding to take care of before I'm completely done prepping this area, but the bulk of the prep is done. So far it seems like the baby powder is keeping the fiberglass dust from making me feel itchy, but most often the itchy feeling doesn't really start until later that night. So well, we'll see tomorrow. Good morning guys, it is Saturday morning. I've been at it a few hours already with the detail sanding here. I'm close to being done, but before getting started on this, I swung by the workshop. Up there I cut all of the glass I'll need for the section I'm prepping on the starboard side. This is a lot of glass. It's gonna take me somewhere between a week and 2 weeks to lay all this up, but at least it's not sanding fiberglass. Speaking of sanding fiberglass, that baby powder from yesterday is pretty awesome. I still had a little bit of itchiness on certain areas of my arms and some parts of my body, but my face, which is what normally annoys me the most, was not even the tiniest bit itchy, so big thumbs up. I'm using today as a little bit of a control, so I won't apply any baby powder today. Then tonight I'll see if my face gets itchy. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys get to see a lot more of the powdered version of me in the future. I better get back to it and finish this last little bit of prep. I am not gonna bore you with this, so it is a grueling couple of hours later. I've gotten to the point that if I need to sand as much as another square centimeter, then I'm gonna spill my lunch. So let's move on to laying up some glass instead. I was actually considering emptying out the aft cabin here this weekend, mainly just to have some content for the video, but that would leave me without storage because I need somewhere to put stuff, and right now it's all in there. So I'm gonna have to wait to clear that out until I've gotten this piece of the cabin sole put down. 9, 10. I wish every weekend's video could be as good as last weekend's video. I had a ton of fun making that video, and when I published it, I felt really good about it. But, I mean, this is a massive project, and not every video can be that good. Fortunately, in the not too distant future, we are going to move into the rebuilding phase. That's going to be a lot more fun, because right now it is just a struggle of prep work and putting down glass, and it's not easy to make interesting videos about that. But the rebuilding phase, that should be a lot more fun. I've pre-pumped 15 glasses of resin. That is going to make my life a little bit easier once I start laying up glass, because when I need a new cup, I can just grab one here, add 10 pumps of hardener, and I'm ready to go. Just as on the starboard side, I've put down a tiny little filler to make sure I don't get any voids in there when I lay up the new laminate. And speaking of the new laminate, I'm going to lay that up in a time lapse, because that way I can listen to some music or an audiobook on Audible without getting any kind of copyright issues. Good morning, guys. It is Sunday morning. The time lapse you just watched represents 12 hours worth of work. That is a lot of work. That is 12 straight hours of laying up glass. No breaks, no nothing. But there is a bit of good news. I managed to finish 3 sections, and I also managed to finish listening to HMS Ulysses, which is a pretty cool book. With the progress I made yesterday, I don't think it's unrealistic for me to finish this entire area by next weekend. And that is pretty cool news, because that means next weekend then we could put down the piece of the cabin sole that's going to go here. That means I can move stuff out of the aft cabin, and maybe we can start making the template for the new bulkhead that's going to go in there. In Athena's current layout, there is a bulkhead right here. That is the bulkhead I'm going to move so that it goes all the way back to here. As far as today, I'm going to be focusing on this section here, and there's also an old hole from a through hole right here that I want to patch up. There's already glass laid up on the outside of the hull for patching up this hole, so all I have to worry about is the inside part, so this should be nice and easy. But before I get started on doing that, there is something I'm going to do that's going to make it a little bit more comfortable for me, and that is to replace the knee pads in my pants. Ah, that is like floating on air. I think we can all agree the old ones were due to be replaced. This is paper thin. Yesterday when I laid up glass, I can see that I dropped some little bits of epoxy here, and of course I will have to sand those areas to get a good bond. And that was the last little bit of sanding this weekend. Certainly cause for celebration. Speaking of sanding, last night my face was itchy again, so I think it's safe to say that the baby powder does make a difference. And that means when it's time to take care of the area of the hull underneath the aft cabin and the old head, well, it's time to powder up again. I've cleaned up my little fillets, so now it is just, and I do say just in quotes, just a matter of laying up the glass. And just like that, I am done with these 4 sections. And that means I am a little more than halfway done with this area here on the port side, which is very exciting. I'm pretty pleased with the amount of progress I've made this week. A good chunk of the week was spent, or wasted, on the wisdom tooth situation, but I think I had a good strong finish this weekend. Now I just have to keep that momentum going and take care of the last few sections here over the next coming days, and then next weekend we can do something more fun than just laying up glass. But yep, I'm running a little bit late, so I better end this video here. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like. See you!